question, what is the difference between counseling and coaching? Now, let me start off by saying, I must tell you, there's a lot of, even in literature, if you go around, you'll see there's a lot of debate going on what coaching actually means, let alone counseling and coaching. But that's a very good question. Now, the classical distinction between coaching and counseling is, in coaching, you sort of take the client from where they are towards a goal, a set goal that they have. Whilst in counseling, you would dwell on things, I would say, more to do with the inner landscape and the past, things that normally lies in their past. As far as I'm concerned, myself, I've been trained in counseling and coaching, so I suppose I can denote myself as a coacher, because sometimes, and I must tell you, it's not that easy to make the distinction. I've found often with clients that the thing that's keeping them from being able to go forward is exactly something in the past. So I feel very blessed to be able to sort of, for the moment, dwell there, but let them find the answers. And I think we can discuss what coaching is really in terms of what that's really about. But a very good question. Thank you.
But how do you know that you're asking the right questions?
Coaching is all about questions. The essence of coaching, without again giving you a formal coaching definition, the essence of coaching is like finding diamonds, if you want, delving for diamonds inside people. And the way you get that mineral out is by asking the right questions. Now, the thing is, you can't bring me a coach that always asks the right questions. It's about experience as well, but I think, and if this is any consolation, also to really, I find that if I listen really intently, if I really stay with my client, the sort of right question just comes into play. So coaching is actually a dance with your client to you, not as a coach setting the agenda, but they do, and you just feel them where they are ready to go. And obviously they set the goals, and your task as a coach is actually to guide them towards that, but always at their pace. Have you ever tried dancing with somebody that can't dance? That's quite a thing. So I think, again, experienced coaches will do the dance without letting the dance stop. And I think that's very important. That's where the craft or the skill of coaching really comes in my mind. Coaching is a process. I can't sort of stress that enough. It's not this is session first and this is session 8 and now we're done. And the reason I think why I love coaching is you never know where this is all going. It's such a dynamic process, but so interesting. And I think it's really quite taxing as well. If ever you've tried just staying with somebody in terms of listening, you will know how draining that is. So to do that dance with them, if you have a psychology background, you will know what I'm talking about. It's really like not being in charge of the, you're in charge of the process, but not in charge of the agenda. Does that make sense?
Doesn't that mean that counseling is more a subset of coaching? As in, you have to dig into the past to find out or you have to dig into the past and counsel on that and provide a direction with a hand-holding, which would be part of what coaching is about. So don't these two go hand in hand?
Coaching, in my mind, is all about awareness. You have to create a sense of awareness in the client. And that awareness may mean it's something in the past. Again, it'll differ in terms of their needs for the coaching. If they want to run the comrades, for example, I mean, come on, you just need to start practicing. There's not a lot going on in terms of your past and what your mother did to you or whatever. You just need to get fit and run this comrades. And there's some technical skill and fitness that goes with that. And then you can coach somebody with that. But I think, again, you don't need to be a psychologist or a counselor to be a coach.
Do you think somebody with a psychology background is ideal to do coaching? And question 2, how would you mind to give us your history?
Obviously, you do have a little bit of advantage in terms of if you have acquired in your psychology studies the ability to listen. I'm telling you, in terms of coaching or counseling for that matter, the main thing is the ability to listen. People hear, but they don't listen. And I mean, as a coach, and that immediately is also the threat for coaches. Because as I've said previously, it's all about the question. Now, what can happen in the session is that you are now so busy in your own mind formulating the next clever question that you don't hear what the client is saying. So that's the one thing in terms of psychology. On the other hand, it can also be a drawback. You have to be very aware, and I think that is also a very important thing that I need to stress. As a coach, you have to be not only aware of your client, but terribly aware of yourself. Self-awareness is pivotal in coaching. My own journey, interesting enough, I was trained, as I said, I did a degree in psychology and then went on to do theology, been in the ministry for a long time, and then did a master's in counselling, and eventually deliberately decided early in my life that I want to do a career change. So I prepared myself academically by doing a PhD in leadership and performance and change, and the coaching comes with that.
Is there a way that you can help someone formulate or clarify their goals to themselves? And then the second question, is it beneficial to for a coach to have some sort of industry knowledge or of where you are at, so that they're able to guide you? Or am I mixing this with mentoring perhaps?
There's different reasons why people come for coaching. The one is exactly that. Either they have a goal that they set for themselves, or they are being referred, and you have to sort of, with them, find what is keeping them from underperforming. You see, they're not sure why they're there. So it's also, then you sort of formulate a goal with them. And then the other one, exactly what you're now saying, is they've got a vague idea and they're frustrated that they're not getting there. Now, I normally think about coaching in terms of the analogy, people being on an island and they're not happy where they are. And they've got this idea about where they want to go, but they don't know how to get there. And then you need a coach to just help you, not row your boat for you, but empower you to get to the other side, to get to that island. And I think that's where it comes in. When I coach people, I don't need to know exactly what's happening in Anglo Gold, for example, or in a specific industrial environment, because the client will fill you in. Coaching to me is dancing with the client, taking the client serious firstly, not the environment. You will obviously have to take into account the environment they're working in, but they fill you in on that. It's more important to, and that's a part that I personally like, is about making them self-aware, personal leadership development, helping them to realize their strengths and weaknesses.
You spoke about self-awareness and being able to listen as core competencies for a coach. What are some other ones?
The other ones, I think, is total authenticity. I would love to start with being totally authentic as a coach. If you pretend that don't you worry, I can take you through this all. I think for a coach to also be vulnerable at stages and also say, you know what, we are in this dance together and we will make it through together, but being authentic. And authenticity to me is a very important thing. The other one is trust. A coach needs to be trusted. Otherwise, you're in trouble. If your client doesn't trust you, and again, a little bit of psychology, there's got to be a huge rapport being set up right from the beginning.
Could you give us some guidelines on how to help them understand what their role would be and how the dynamics would work?
Coaching is all about change. So when you prepare people, if people want to enter into coaching, I absolutely check with them, and I've got a formula, what I call a change formula, that's got to do with where they are in their lives at that stage. If there's not enough dis-ease where they are, if they are, in other words, quite happy with their lives, I don't even go to the second round.
Is coaching always about two individuals, or can it be the coach and more individuals?
Obviously, you get team coaching, so it's not always only one-on-one. In the business environment, you often find, and that's wonderful, to do team coaching because there is a different dynamic. Then you act as a coach for the team. Our thoughts are so important. So you very soon discover people's thinking patterns. We all have patterns of thinking. And your thinking, it starts with a thought, and then an emotion, and then a behavior that comes with it. So if you are really tuned into that, you will also discover not only their thought patterns, but their drivers, their subconscious drivers, what's lying underneath all this.
Is it a growing field? Is there enough work out there for coaches?
I've attended the annual general meeting of COMENSA, the Coaching and Mentoring Society of South Africa, COMENSA, that oversees, and I don't think they're the only governing body, but that's the most notable one, I think, at the moment. They sort of, let me just say what I find very helpful, because you now find coaches all over the place, all kinds of different coaches, and at least by being affiliated with COMENSA, you are sure that the coach that you're hiring at least sticks to the ethical behavior of being a coach. So coaching as an industry is definitely, to my mind, it's booming. But interestingly enough, not that many coaches make a living from coaching only. A lot of them, like myself, do consultation work as well, leadership development, in other fields of human development, they are involved.
Do you also learn a lot when you deal with people?
That is such a valuable question. I'm telling you why we're doing this work. We're doing this for our own sake, because the growth happens within ourselves. And I'm not saying it's not about the client, but I think for myself, that's why it's so satisfying and rewarding, because I learn such a lot about myself in every situation.
If you want to say, I am a coach, must you also, like a psychologist, apply at a board? And what is the minimum qualification then?
At the moment, there's no such board like the psychologists or doctors, that they are busy with that process exactly about the accreditation. There's no minimum qualifications. There's certain requirements in terms of they would typically, and I'm not saying this is COMENSA, they would look at your qualifications and they may even interview you and check that you've got the standing, if you want, at least, to really act as a coach. As you know, from the corporate environment, working with their ROI, they want to see the return on their investment, and that is not always measurable, and that makes it quite difficult. You can see the change happening, and there are people working at that to sort of illustrate that the productivity, for example, was bettered and the output is there. But mostly you will see the difference on a systems level. Okay, we're done, out of time. Thank you, and thank you so much to you for running around.
Thank you to you for all your knowledge.